Hope you know me. I am Simon Gregory Pereira. Today I invite you not simply to listen to a history, but to enter a journey of grace, struggle, and mission. The history of the Society of Jesus in Sri Lanka is a long and complex journey marked by zeal, interruption, renewal, and adaptation. It stretches back to the 16th century when the first Jesuit missionaries arrived from the fisheries coast of South India during the period of Portuguese control over the coastal regions of the island. Six months after the institution of the Society of Jesus by Pope Paul III in September 1540, Francis Xavier wrote to Ignatius of Loyola in March 1541 about Ceylon, saying there was great scope for the gospel in that island. The first Jesuit missionaries to labour in Ceylon arrived in Mena in 1560 as part of the Indian province. Their early evangelization was concentrated mainly in the northern territories. It is believed that St. Francis Xavier himself contributed to these early efforts, especially in Mena shortly after his arrival in Goa in 1542. In 1602, the Ceylon mission of the Society of Jesus arrived in Colombo, and their mission stations soon spread along the western coast and north to Jaffna. The Jesuit mission was officially established in Ceylon, and missionaries began pastoral work among Portuguese soldiers, merchants, and local communities, establishing mission stations in both the north and south. This promising beginning, however, was soon disrupted by political changes. The first Jesuit era in Ceylon ended when the Protestant Dutch ousted the Catholic Portuguese as colonial masters of Ceylon in the 1650s. In 1658, the Dutch took control of the island and began persecuting Catholics. European priests, including the Jesuits, were forced to leave the country, effectively bringing Jesuit missionary activity to an end. This absence was further prolonged by the suppression of the Society of Jesus in 1773 by papal decree, although it was later restored in 1814. Meanwhile, under British rule beginning in 1796, Catholics regained the freedom to practice their religion by 1806, gradually creating conditions favourable for the return of missionary activity. The second Jesuit era began in 1893 when Pope Leo XIII founded the Papal Seminary in Kandy, Sri Lanka, entrusting its direction and administration to the Society of Jesus, initiating a new and significant phase in their history. This revival was marked by the establishment of the Papal Seminary in Kandy in 1893 under Father Sylvain Grosjean, S.J., a Belgian Jesuit of the Calcutta Mission. At the same time, two dioceses were created, Galle in the south and Trincomalee in the east. Bishop Charles Levine, S.J., was appointed the first Bishop of Trincomalee in 1893, and Bishop Joseph van Rieth, S.J., became the first Bishop of Galle in 1895. These developments were part of a broader plan by Propaganda Fide, although the original intention to place both the seminary and the missions under one superior was not realized. The seminary was initially entrusted to the Provincial of Brussels and later, in 1908, to the Bengal Mission. Two distinct Jesuit missions emerged during this period: the mission of Galle, led by Belgian Jesuits, and the mission of Trincomalee, led by French Jesuits. Education became the central apostolate of the Jesuits. They established leading institutions such as St. Michael's College in Batticaloa, St. Joseph's College in Trincomalee, and St. Aloysius Colleges in Galle and Ratnapura. These schools became renowned not only for academic excellence, but also for achievements in sports and discipline, producing many distinguished individuals who contributed to Sri Lankan society. Jesuits were also deeply engaged in parish ministry, serving both urban and rural communities in the eastern and southern regions. Despite this growth, challenges persisted, particularly the lack of personnel. By 1924, the Galle mission was entrusted to the Naples province of Italy, while in 1945 the Trincomalee mission was handed over to the New Orleans province of the United States. Even earlier in 1933, the Belgian mission had already struggled to serve the Trincomalee-Batticaloa area adequately, prompting appeals for assistance. Over time, missionaries from the two missions increasingly collaborated, and with improvements in transportation, the boundaries between them became less distinct. This growing collaboration eventually led to a significant development. By 1961, it was evident that the two missions should be united. A visitor sent by the Jesuit Superior General studied the situation, and in 1962 the two missions were officially merged to form the Jesuit Province of Sri Lanka. Father Emmanuel Crowther was appointed as provincial, marking the beginning of an indigenous and unified Jesuit presence in the country. The years following the establishment of the province were both fruitful and challenging. Education remained the primary apostolate, and Jesuit schools such as St. Aloysius College, St. Michael's College, and St. Joseph's College continued to flourish, producing outstanding scholars and contributing to the nation's development. In 1960, the nationalization of private-aided schools led to financial challenges for the Jesuits in sustaining their educational institutions. After approximately a decade of struggle, they transferred the administration of their 3 schools to the government. However, the nationalization of private-aided schools in 1960 created severe financial difficulties. By 1970, the Jesuits were compelled to hand over their major educational institutions to the state, marking a turning point in their mission. Although this resulted in a temporary standstill in formal education, Jesuits continued to serve as university lecturers and chaplains in institutions such as Peradeniya, Jaffna and Batticaloa. They also contributed to priestly formation through teaching at seminaries, even after the papal seminary was moved from Kandy to Pune in 1955. In response to these changes, the Jesuits diversified their ministries, particularly in the area of social apostolate. They initiated numerous programs aimed at empowering marginalized communities. Among these were the Satyodaya Center in Kandy and the Center for Social Concern in Hatton, which focused on plantation workers. The Shanti community animation movement in Dehiwala addressed the needs of the urban poor, while the Centre for Promotion and Protection of Human Rights in Trincomalee provided legal and social assistance. The Jesuits also worked extensively among plantation Tamil communities, helping them to regain dignity and improve their living conditions. Schools, recreation centres and awareness programs were established to uplift these communities. Other initiatives included vocational training centres such as the Cholankanda Youth Training Centre, English academies and technical institutes in various parts of the country. These institutions aim to equip disadvantaged youth with skills for employment. As the Jesuits were pushed away from established institutions, they found themselves drawn toward the margins, toward plantation workers, the urban poor, and those who had long remained outside the centres of influence. The Jesuits also responded to the challenges of war and social unrest. Projects like Lilies of the Field in Batticaloa helped rehabilitate former combatants, while the Butterfly Peace Garden provided psychological support to children affected by conflict. During the 2004 tsunami, Jesuits actively engaged in relief and rehabilitation efforts, later establishing social centres to continue supporting affected communities. The Jesuits also contributed significantly to spiritual and intellectual life. Retreat centres such as Fatima in Kandy and Manresa in Batticaloa provided opportunities for spiritual growth through the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius. The Tulana Research Centre became a hub for interreligious dialogue, particularly between Buddhism and Christianity, and contributed to theological reflection and reconciliation. Jesuits were also involved in academic research, publications and historical documentation, including the translation and publication of important church documents. Formation of Jesuits locally became an important priority. In 1988, the novitiate was established, along with the juniorate and other formation programs. The province also extended its mission internationally, notably taking responsibility for the Pakistan mission in the same year. Jesuits from Sri Lanka served in various countries, including Africa and the Middle East, often under challenging conditions. In recent years, the Jesuits have returned to formal education with renewed commitment. Mount Calvary High School was established in Galle in 2012 and Arupe College in Batticaloa in 2018. In partnership with Jesuit Worldwide Learning, they now provide higher education opportunities to underprivileged youth across different regions of the country.
Jesuits are present throughout the island, carrying out their various ministries and apostolates. In the deep south in Galle, on the west coast in Colombo, Dewala, Kelaniya, Negombo and Chilaw. In the Central Hills, Kandy, Cholankonda and Hatton. In Badulla District,
Sparagus and Thanamel-Wheeler.
in the north in Mana, Mullaitivu and Vavonia, and in the east in Trincomalee and Batticaloa districts. The Ministry of the Spiritual Exercises is one of the main apostolates of the Sri Lanka province. Jesuits have been giving the exercises individually and as teams, particularly in the 2 Jesuit retreat houses, Fatima Retreat House in Leavella, Kandy, and Manresa Retreat House in Batticaloa. The Ritwik ministry extends to priests, religious, laity, as well as to the Ustreen parishes and schools. This worldwide network of daily prayer with an estimated 40 million followers around the world is well established in Sri Lanka today under the stewardship of the Jesuits. The recruitment and formation of new Sri Lankan Jesuits has been and continues to be given high priority in the province. There are 2 candidates' houses in the province, one in Batticaloa in the east coast and the other in Negombo in the west coast. The province pre-novitiate is based in Trincomalee, also on the east coast of the island, and the novitiate in Kurunogala in northwestern province, while juniorate is located in Daliagama Kelania in the western province. Sri Lankan Jesuit scholastics are proceeding with their higher studies and their training in philosophy and theology in Jesuits and other academic institutions in countries like India, Philippines, Italy and Kenya. A special house for the Jesuit tertianship program has been established in Kandy, next to the Leva La Fatima Retreat House. It is an international program catering to Jesuit tertians from all over the world, especially from the Asian continent. The need of the hour in Sri Lanka today is to promote vocations to the Society of Jesus, and this is being carried out alongside the Jesuit ministry to youth. While every Jesuit in every apostolate is encouraged to promote vocations, the province has committed itself to this task with a special ministry dedicated to the purpose. Jesuit education has been firmly established as a significant apostolic undertaking of the Jesuits in Sri Lanka since the early 20th century. Notable institutions under their administration included St. Aloysius College in Galle, St. Michael's College in Batticaloa, and St. Joseph's College in Trincomalee. These schools were known for their academic excellence and emphasis on sports. Following the handing over of those 3 schools to the government in 1970, the Jesuit apostolate of formal education ceased to operate. But the commitment to education persisted in various other forms. The Jesuits continued to serve as lecturers and chaplains in state universities, as well as in the formation of clergy within seminaries. Additionally, vocational training centres and English academies were established by the Jesuits to provide education to the disadvantaged youth. In 2011, Mount Calvary High School, an English medium school located in Galle within the southern province of Sri Lanka, was inaugurated. Its primary section is situated in Galle, while the upper school is in Hapigala, a town on the outskirts of Galle. Furthermore, in 2020, Arub College in Batticaloa was established to cater to primary and secondary education, signifying a formal return of the Jesuits to the Ministry of Education. The educational apostolate of the province has been expanded through higher education centres such as Loyola Campus, located in Mela, Mullaitivu, Vavonia, Batticaloa, Hatton, Trincomalee and
Thanamel-Wheeler,
which offers professional courses to the underprivileged youth at the Mojans. Ever since their first set foot on the island in the 16th century, and especially after their permanent return in the 19th century, the Jesuit work among the flocking mission stations and parishes all over Sri Lanka has been exceptional. In many areas, it was the Jesuits who established new parishes and later handed them over to the diocesan clergy. Today, the Jesuits continue to run parishes in the Galle, Trincomalee and Kandy district. The Jesuit Social Apostolate in Sri Lanka covers a range of programs and initiatives that address social issues, advocate for justice, and promote the rights and well-being of marginalized and disadvantaged communities, with a focus on various areas, including education, healthcare, poverty alleviation, rural development, peace building, and reconciliation. The Jesuit Social Apostolate is committed to actively working towards the creation of a more inclusive and compassionate society, guided by the principles of Ignatian spirituality and driven by a deep sense of solidarity. The Jesuits strive to foster social justice and support those in need.
Within our social ministry, these institutions reflect a shared mission of compassion, healing, and empowerment. In Ceylon, the St. Peter Claver Institute accompanies children with special needs, helping them grow into healthy, independent, and employable individuals. It affirms the dignity and potential of those often overlooked. In Calcutta, the Padre Pio Ayurvedic Treatment Center offers holistic healing through traditional remedies, serving both the local community and visitors, and promoting restoration of body and spirit. Alongside this, the Rainbow Kids Campus provides childcare and early education for children from socially and economically disadvantaged backgrounds in the Batticaloa district, nurturing hope and opportunity from a young age. Together, these ministries embody a commitment to restore dignity and bring hope to those most in need.
In 2016, Arturo Sosa, a Venezuelan Jesuit, was elected the 31st Superior General of the Society of Jesus. At the start of his tenure, Father General Sosa began a review of the variety of works that Jesuits were engaged in by surveying each Jesuit around the globe, involving both lay and religious partners. Participants were invited to discern the most urgent needs in the world, right now, and how the Jesuits can better serve those needs. After 2 years of consultation with Jesuit works all around the world, a proposed draft was sent to Pope Francis, a Jesuit himself, for consideration and confirmation. As a result, the Society of Jesus has committed to 4 universal apostolic preferences for all Jesuit works to focus on through the year 2029. Number 1, to show the way to God through discerning and St. Ignatius' spiritual exercises, or but to walk with the poor and the outcasts in the world, and those whose dignity has been violated, in a mission of reconciliation and justice. To accompany young people in the creation of a hope-filled future. To collaborate with Gospel Debt for the protection and renewal of God's creation.
Throughout this history, the Jesuits have been guided by the spirituality of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, characterized by a spirit of adventure, adaptability, and the pursuit of the greater good, or magis. Their mission has never been static, but always responsive to the needs of the time, whether through education, social justice, interreligious dialogue, or spiritual formation. Thus, the story of the Jesuits in Sri Lanka is one of resilience and transformation. From their pioneering missionary efforts in the 16th century through periods of suppression and revival to the establishment of a vibrant and independent province in 1962 and beyond, they have continually adapted to historical challenges. Today, they remain committed to serving the people of Sri Lanka, especially the poor and marginalized, embodying their enduring mission of faith and justice.